this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Sunday morning chat today is lots of little bits. I have a list. It's nothing to do with me getting old and my memory going, of course, but I do have a list. And basically there's only a list because little ideas pop up in a comment now and again. Well, that could be on a video from 2 weeks ago. Well, I'm not going to be able to recall all that sort of stuff, so as I get a suggestion or anything, I make a list, and then eventually I have a go at the list and cross them off. Otherwise I'll end up doing it twice because my memory's not going. I forgot what I was going to... I can't keep a straight face, sorry. Right, first things first. Every time I pick this up, I forget what it is. That's what it is. And it now has a tag. Better? That's specifically for somebody who's getting fed up with me forgetting that one. And it is just that one most of the time. Right, so that's that one done. Cross that off the list mentally. Right, somebody asked about the little computer fans and how they're actually set up. Well, it's not interesting enough to film, and I believe I can talk it through good enough to cross it off my list, basically. The little computer fans come in various sizes, from quite small up to about 6 inches. Mine are 5 inch, I think, so they are a reasonable size. I'll get one, a used one. Oh, this is handy as well. Right, so I think that's a 5 inch one. It might be a 4 inch one. Covered in. Everywhere that air moves, if you have cats, you will have cat hair. Yeah? Including on lots of places where it doesn't move as well. Right, now these come in various designs, from bushless, which means they'd be totally silent. They run on magnetic fields, so effectively they don't make a noise, or virtually no noise, but most of them are very quiet anyway. I mean, I've got 5 running in here at the moment. There is no noise. You've got to get very close to them. Right, the thing is with these, they do come with 2 wires, 3 wires, and sometimes 4 wires. It depends what they were designed to do inside the computer. But 2 of the wires will always be the mains current and the return, so the neutral. Yeah, so the power and the neutral. And that is virtually always red and black. You might have a white one as well. You might have a white and a yellow one. You might have a yellow one, but you'll have red and black. Yeah? And that's your direct current, and that's your return. Yeah? So red is your current, black is the return. So it gives you your cycle. Okay? Now these that I've got are 12 volts. So first of all, you need 12 volts to drive them. So what I've used is an adapter, like a phone adapter, mobile phone adapter, or something like that, but something that can take your mains current, whatever that is in your current, in your country, down to 12 volts, direct current, not alternating current like your mains is. Yeah? So you need an output feed of 12 volts DC, direct current. That's part 1 of the little formula you need to think of. You've then got to look at the maximum power rating of that little adapter, and it'll be something like 1 amp, 2 amps, or 3 amps, or 1.5 amps. Yeah, that's the maximum draw you can take before it starts overheating and catching fire in some cases. So don't overload them. Even though it's low current, they can still get hot, so take care with that. Now in my case, the little fans, which will have a rating as well, are 0.3 amps. So that's how much they need to run. So if I had a 3 amp output from my little 12 volt adapter, I could run 10 of these. Yeah? 0.3 into 3 is 10. Yeah? Okay? But I wouldn't run it that high. I wouldn't get close to the maximum. So, I mean, at the moment I've got 5 running with a 3 amp output. So I'm very safe. Nothing gets warm. No wires get hot or anything like that. The other problem that you get with these little things is they normally come with a very short length of wire. They're designed to go inside the box of a computer, which is not very big, is it? So they tend to have short wires. And what I did was I got some speaker wire so that I could extend the power around the grow room and make sure I went all around the edges and not across the middle, so as you and trip over it. Yeah, so if you're going to have wiring around, put it somewhere safe where you're not going to hook up on it or not going to knock it or anything like that. Little clips can be used to hold stuff in place. So speaker wire is fine. It's thin enough. It's not going to overload current. The longer a wire is, the less gets through out the other end. It's as simple as that. Yeah, but thicker wire tends to allow more through. But you don't need thick wire for these. I mean, you can see how fine that wire is. Yeah. And speaker wire's the same sort of thickness, and it's very cheap. You can buy it on a roll, which is what I did. It was about 20 meters or something, or 50 meters might have been, for a few pounds anyway, not a lot of money. Okay, and when you're wiring up, your phone adapter or whatever 12 volt adapter you get will have a plug on the end of it to go into something. Well, first thing you need to do is cut that off. Yeah, and then you will find you've got 2 wires. One of them will be the current, one of them will be the return. And that's normally pretty easy to identify because one of them will either be red or it'll have a stripe on it or something. But you can find out anyway. Yeah? And then all you do is direct current, it's lightweight voltage, so just wire them up. You've got 2 wires coming out, yeah? And what I've done is I've got 2 wires coming out of the adapter, and I've put some speaker wire onto there, and then I've put another piece of speaker wire onto there, and then another piece onto there. So I've got 3 joins onto those 2 little wires. So all the reds wound together, all the blacks wound together, and then some insulating tape to hold it all in place. Yeah, and then those wires go off around the grow room until they get to where the speakers are. Sorry, where the fans are. And on some occasions I've gone to a fan and then I've taken another wire off to go to another fan nearby. So you can just bump them up. It's not that important because it's low current, it's 12 volts, it's harmless, and you're not overloading anything. And yeah, they put out a good flow of air, but plants that are close to them, the airflow could be deemed a draft. So go steady. When you've got fans running, there's a difference between airflow and a draft. I always look at it like this way. If you imagine you're stood in it, or you've got your face in it, a draft is something you will want to move away from, because it's not nice. However, airflow can be quite pleasant. There's a difference. So don't get plants too close to these blasting away in their face. Get some distance. The leaves should just move gently, not bend over in the wind. That's too much. Yeah? However, when the temperatures start climbing, you can up the airflow. I mean, my giant circulating fans, once I get up 24, 25 degrees and those things fire up, you know, I've got 3 settings on there: ordinary, strong wind and gale force. Yeah? And if these are both on full, it means my temperature's high and the plants can take it. And the leaves do move. Yeah? Have a look at the leaves in the wild on video film. They move. They're not still. Okay, so that's the little computer fans. There are 6 volt versions available, I think, but then you'd need a 6 volt adapter. So don't be silly. Make sure everything's balanced. 12 volt direct current output to go with the type of fans you're using. and add up the power consumption of the fans to get a total, and make sure that your little adapter puts out more than that, so that you're not draining it, and then nothing starts warming up and heating up and starting to smoke and don't want any of that nonsense. But remember, it is only 12 volts. Right, we can cross that off then. Computer fans. Aye, 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 aye. Right, somebody's asked for a beginner's series. Now, others have done things like this before, but everybody would have their own take on it, so they wouldn't all be the same. Now, I've done my store-bought Phalaenopsis. That is like a beginner's series. And I've done my Oncidium Alliance series, and I've done my Cattleya Alliance series. So I've already got 3 on the go. Those haven't finished. Those will go on forever as long as the plants are still alive, and I've still got them, one or the other. So those series aren't finished, but they're not specifically aimed at beginners, although I would say the store-bought Phalaenopsis is a direct beginners type series, because it literally takes a plant from selecting it in a store based on pretty blooms poking out the top, to getting it home, having a look at it, what's going on in the pot, actually repotting it, siting it in the home to find a suitable place, and watering, feeding. It is really a beginner's series, but specific for Phalaenopsis, store-bought type Phalaenopsis. The Oncidium Alliance series, similar sort of thing, you know, pretty blooms, bring them home, get them out the pot, decide they haven't got very good roots, repot them, etc. So there are series already there. I will think about doing a very specific beginners series. That's not necessarily going to take place. As I said, I've already got 3 on the go, which are along those lines. Right. Detailed care guides, they will come and go. It's not normally the way I work. I'm a little devious at times. You get snippets of information about certain plants during a video. So if you don't watch to the end, you may have missed the best bit. Yeah, but you get to know the way I speak during my videos. Little snippets of information and useful tips pop up as I go along, rather than amassed together holding one plant in my hand. I don't tend to work like that, but I might do some nonetheless. Undecided yet. Right, somebody asked specifically about looking after Cattleya types in winter. This will be fun because, strictly speaking, if you want to look after Cattleya types well, then don't have winter. What do I mean by that? Most Cattleya types come into the category where they don't like to get cold. Yeah? And they come from areas that will have a wetter season and a drier season. So two types of seasons. They don't really get the spring and the autumn bit to any great extent. But what they do get is pretty constant temperatures, probably not dropping down below 16, 17 degrees, yeah, and highs up into the 30s, yeah, but not all the time, you know. So you could say a comfortable range for most Cattleya types is between 16, 17 degrees C and about 27, 28, sat in there somewhere, yeah. But alongside that is light, and with light goes day length. Yeah. Now in their natural environment they would have between 11 and 13 hours of good light every day, unless it was chucking it down with rain and it was cloudy, which does happen because you'll get a rainy season. Well, you have to bear in mind, if it's raining, it's not bright light, is it? So their rainy season is not necessarily where they get their brightest light. It's more likely to be the drier season when the clouds have gone. This is just logic weather. It's got nothing to do with orchids. This is how weather works. It's working hard outside here today. We've had one band of Storm Ciara going over, but that's like a taster. That's the forerunner. The main storm arrives later this afternoon. and it was quite well, it wasn't funny really for the players, but watching England play Scotland when I got home from the meeting yesterday in that weather, you know, they were kicking the ball and it was going like that. You know, nothing went in a straight line. The wind was so strong. Anyway, so if we set up the ideal world for Cattleyas, there is no real winter. Might be a little bit cooler in the drier season, but not huge amounts. The variety of temperatures, light levels and stuff like that, it isn't there. It's more even, right? So there is no winter. There's a drier season and a wetter season. There is no winter. So when somebody asks about looking after Cattleyas in winter, I assume they're talking about a place where there is winter, like here. I get winter. I'm in the UK, and I'm sure lots of people higher up in the States, on into Canada, most of the EU, get winter. And in the winter, it gets cold. Most Cattleyas don't like this. So out here, I go down to around 12 degrees C in the winter. That's my minimum setting. Now, for probably 2 to 3 months, it goes down to that temperature virtually every night. Sometimes it doesn't quite get down there and the heater doesn't even come on, but it would have to be a very mild period for that to happen. Right? So I've got my minimum set there. I haven't got it set there for my Cattleyas. I've got it set there for my Dendrobiums that like a winter rest, and everything else just has to lump it. So my Cattleyas are too cold in the winter. So how do they respond? They slow down. Their growth rate slows down. They're not in their happy place. They're in a just about putting up with it place. But they're not going to die. They'll be fine. They'll just slow up a bit. So they've got reduced growth rate. In addition to that, if I didn't have supplemental lighting, I'd have 2 to 3 months of less than 9-hour days instead of 11 to 13. How's that going to affect their growth? Going to slow them down even more, isn't it? Just as they wake up and think, oh, it's daytime, I'll do a bit of growing, it starts getting dark again. So obviously in a true winter environment like I've got, they slow down. Result of plants slowing down and not growing as fast is obvious. They don't need watering as often and they don't need as much feed. So if you've got true winter environments where the temperatures are going to drop down and the day lengths are going to shorten, you need to spread out your watering and reduce your feeding because they won't use it. Yeah? And the last thing Cattleyas like is soggy roots. Wet-dry cycle, which as it gets cooler and they slow up, is harder to achieve. So you need to adjust quite dramatically. Now I've got supplemental lighting in here that I believe is strong enough to keep the Cattleyas just about in their happy place light-wise. Therefore my day length has become less of a problem, but I've still got cool temperatures. They're still going to slow down, not quite as much as they used to without the lights. So that's really it. Winter care for Cattleyas, shorter days, as much light as you can give them during those shorter days. They won't be growing as fast or as much, so cut down your watering frequency and reduce your feed strengths. Yeah? You'll see them kick back off. In this part of the UK, that happens just out the end of February into the beginning of March, and that's when the true natural day lengths get back above 11 hours. And also, often the nights aren't quite as cool, and the daytimes are starting to get a bit of heat. They're getting back into their comfort zone, and they will respond by either coming back into growth, having stopped completely, or speeding up a bit. And as that happens, you adjust. You start needing to water a bit more frequently because they'll be drying a bit quicker because they're using it. And if they're coming back into more active growth, a bit more feed, give them a helping hand. Yeah. So, winter care for Cattleyas. To me, it's just logic. If this is the temperature ranges and the light level they like, and my winter does that, then I need to make adjustments. if I kept my minimum temperature at 16-17 degrees out here with my grow lights, they probably wouldn't slow up. In which case, would I need to adjust my watering and feeding? No. It'll probably remain roughly the same throughout the year. But I'm not heating this place up to that level. The poor old heater would be on all night and Roger's electricity bill would give it that. So we're not doing it. And it would mess up my resting dendrobiums, which is a no-no. We don't do that. Right. Cattleya's in winter. That's really about it. Somebody asked about handling the climbing Oncidiums. Some of you might not know what the hell I'm on about. I mean, if you take a mounted Oncidium, it doesn't climb, but actually it does, because if you look at clusters of bulbs, bulbs have come out the top, but on this type of Oncidium, the bulbs have got very, very short rhizomes such that they're touching. There's no stretching out going on. But let's find one that has got nuisance written all over it. Right. Not even sure this one's going to live now, which would be a shame. It's in a bad way. This is my Oncidium. I've forgotten what it's called now. Oh, it's got a tag on it. Varicosum rogersii. It's the clone Baldwin. Now, first of all, when I mounted this not that long ago, it had 4 bulbs. The front bulb, which would be the logical place for the next growth to come, rotted. And I've had to do an emergency cut and a cinnamon on the rhizome. So that now leaves me with 3 bulbs and 1 leaf, which is not a lot. Right. But this one, if you look, the gap between the pseudobulbs is larger. So it has a distinct visible rhizome between the bulbs. And it has a tendency to do that. So each new growth comes up a little bit higher than the one before. So by the time you get 3 in a row, the leader, the front one, the newest one, is possibly that far out of the pot, which means the roots have got to grow at least that long to get down in your media, if your media is flat. Well, therein lies part of your solution. Yeah? You've got 2 choices when you repot the plant. Tip the plant over so that all the pseudobulbs are at a slope like that, but the front one is then in the media and the back one isn't buried. It means the leaves will come out at funny angles, but it'll set it right for a period of time. Unfortunately with these type, they often grow in a straight line as well. So it'll be over the edge of the pot in no time at all. And the other alternative is to plant low in the pot so that the oldest bulb has got something like very large bark around it. So it's never going to stay wet. Even though you might pour water on that bark, it's going to almost dry instantly. So the bulb isn't sitting in the normal media, which might be smaller bark, possibly with some moss. Yeah? So your older bulb can sink lower in the pot and pot low, and then what you can do is build up the larger bark round half the pot and then put your rooting media in the rest of the pot and bring it up to the level of the front one, so that although the pot's still level, it's not all the same media, it's half and half, and for a certain amount of the depth it's got larger pieces on the back end and the normal rooting media on the front end. The other alternative is to actually have your media on a slope. Now that works well for a while, but as you water it will gradually even itself out, because you'll wash the higher stuff round the back and it'll end up being flat. So that doesn't work for long. Anyway, that's some ways of thinking about dealing with the climbers. And there are quite a few that come into that category, and they are a nuisance if you're going to keep them in a pot. If you put them on a mount, they're not so much of a nuisance. Because if you get them pointing in the right direction, they will just naturally climb up the mount. And if the lead bulb starts to be a bit far away from the mount, you can just strap it back down again and just bend it over. You can do that in a pot. You can get a clip, yeah? and actually put it over the rhizome, push it down into the media and try and pull it down. It's unlikely you're going to break the rhizome, but you might damage some roots pushing and shoving about with some sort of clip, but can be done. Right, so that's climbing Oncidiums. Some Cattleyas will do that as well. The latest growth will head off into space and leave a gap underneath it. My Laelia anceps is doing that now. Latest growth is that far away from the bark. Yeah? Well, it hasn't pushed out any roots yet, but it will do soon. It's one of those funny ones because the latest growth doesn't grow its roots until the next growth starts. If you see what I mean, it's like one behind the times all the time. Well, that's how mine grows anyway. Anyway, I shall deal with that in the not too distant future. So there we go, that's climbing Oncidiums. Somebody wants a spotlight on my Coelogene Moriana. I'll do that separately. And I wouldn't do a spotlight on a single Coelogene. If I've only got 3 Coelogenes, if I'm going to do a spotlight, I'd do them all at once. So it will be done, but as part of a little set of 3. Because although they are 3 Coelogenes, they've got similar care. It's not quite the same. There are differences. So I'll get on to that another time. Meeting yesterday, laziest meeting ever. I went with me. Just me. No plants, no camera, just me. And cake and coffee and chatty stuff with people. So I had a lazy day. And Lynn, you know her channel, starting up, new channel and everything. She's got a lovely Oncidium that took 38 points at the Bournemouth show bench. Some eagle-eyed people that have seen Lynn's channel with that plant on actually spotted it in my video on the competition benches. She took that along yesterday and it got her first again, no surprise there. But she was hoping I was going to take my 3-spike Calumnia to see how the two would compare next to each other. Yeah? Because her plant is a good one. But if you just visually looked at the 2 plants, the Calumnia might look better. It's got brighter blooms, larger blooms, with 3 spikes on. Some people would, if they just looked at the 2 without a judging head on, they might say the Calumnia was nicer to look at. That doesn't mean it's a better plant, not by any means. But she was hoping I was going to take it so that at least the comparison could be done with the judge's eye, if you see what I mean. But they judge differently at Wessex to the way Bournemouth do. Bournemouth use the BOC rules. I went over those a while ago with the 40 points maximum. Lynn got 38 for her Oncidium. I don't know what percentages that is, but it's over 90% of the points, isn't it? Only 2 points were deducted, or not given. I won't say deducted, they're not issued, they're not given. It's the way to look at it. Yeah. Points are given, not taken away. So you start off with 0 in each section and you get some. It's not like you start off with full marks and they knock them off. It doesn't work that way. Ends up with the same result. Right, so that'll do me for today. And yeah, there's nothing new coming at the moment, and there won't be for a while now. There's Cattleya buds pushing out in places. Not a huge amount, but there are some. My red one, my only red one, has got a cluster of buds on. Let's have a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there's about 8 blooms in that cluster of buds. That's going to look good. Not large blooms, but some to come. And obviously we've got the winter resting ones that are creeping up on me slowly but surely. The prima donna buds are now starting to swell. I suppose I could get 1 or 2 of them down. Trouble is, if it's not planned, I end up knocking things. No, I won't. I'll do them another time. But prima donna's got swelling buds on, distinct shaped buds rather than nubbins. The freebie one that I got as a present, right up the top there, that's got nubbins that are now starting to extend. That big one there's got not a light on it yet, nothing on that one. And then we've got Nesta, Anosmum, Primulinum, and the other one that looks like Primulinum. That's not going to come. I'm not getting it down. But those 4 long cane dendrobiums, they've all got nubbins, so they're all starting. The Jenkinsii and the other one, aggregatum, Lindleyi as it is now, no sign of any spikes on those 2 yet. They're to come, hopefully. Yeah, so, and there's quite a few Tolumnias with spikes. We've got another one up here with 3 on. This one's pushing on quite nicely now. And the buds are, on the longest spike, are just starting to show their colour. You can just see the colour breaking through the bud. So this first spike's going to be open soon, and then we've got a second one and a third one pushing on behind. So given how staggered they are, that's going to be in bloom a long time. And I believe from memory this one branches as well. So I think this one's going to be out a long time. And that is that one. Yeah? See the tag? Yeah? It's that one. That's going to wind him up again, isn't it? That one I don't actually know what it is until it blooms, at which point I can have a look at my pictures in my notes, because that won't be a first time bloomer, and then I'll get back to identify which one it is. And I'll still probably forget. Is this roof going to stay on or what? The wind's starting to pick up again now. We're looking at, because I'm quite close into the coast, although I do get some protection from the buildings, the coastline, which is about 1.5 miles as the crow flies, as they say, is looking at 75, 80 miles an hour along the English Channel. So pretty windy, shall we say, and noisy as well. Woke me up early this morning, battering away at various things, rattling stuff. So anyway, I've still got lots of computer stuff to do. And thanks for dropping by. Welcome to new viewers. I'm going to stop calling people subscribers because the word subscriber is of less significance nowadays than it ever has been, I think. There's only one important figure I need to get to, which is that 10,000 subscribers thing. There's a physical reason for that, because YouTube will help my channel at that point. But that's got nothing to do with the number of people who actually watch my channel, because I get around 1,000 views per video, sometimes quite a bit more, sometimes a bit less. Well, if I've got 8,500 subscribers, why don't I get 8,500 views? You just don't. That's not the way it works, because a lot of people from years ago subscribed and may have watched one video and never come back, but they don't unsubscribe. So the number of subscribers doesn't mean a lot. The important thing to me is how many people enjoy watching the videos. That's the views, not the subscriber list, if you see what I mean. So that's the bit that I'm interested in, and keeping people happy and making lists and doing requests and things like that when asked. If you don't ask, you won't get. You'll get what I give you. But I'm always open to suggestions, as I've said before. So welcome to new people. This chatty thing with me waffling away in front of the camera is a regular Sunday event. Yeah? So unless I'm busy or out or away or anything like that, this happens on Sunday. It's become a regular feature because it seems popular, and it can be about all sorts of things, various, sometimes totally random, sometimes thinking it up as I go along. Yeah, really, just make it up as I go along. This one had a little list to go with it. Anyway, I will see you next time. Thanks for dropping by. What I'm going to film next week, I really have not got a clue. I haven't got much new stuff going on, and nothing needs repotting, or isn't going to get repotted at this time of year. Nothing needs mounting. I'm not getting any new orchids. Now, I actually asked mixed Masdevallias about my Masdevallia ignea, because I've put this up in what in my eyes is strong light to see if the flipping thing will bloom, because it grows incredibly well. It's got new growths coming out everywhere. Yeah, loads of them. All the pale coloured leaves on there are new growths, loads of them. but no flipping blooms. And I've got lots of new bits growing down near the base that I thought might be blooms, but they're not. The blooms on this one, let's see if I can find a suitable area. Right, put my finger on it. If you look at, where's the lens? If you look at the growth here that I've got hold of, this one, it goes down to there, and then there's a sheath, yeah? The spikes come out the top of the sheath. So they come out part way up, yeah? So these little ones coming out near the base of the plant are not bloom spikes. Well, you can hope, can't you? And Mick also said that sometimes they need a help. They need a helping hand to escape because they get trapped. I'll keep my eye out. But as yet, not a light. But certainly growing well. It just won't bloom at the moment. And I mean, if you look where it is now, it's up on the top shelf. It's the only Masdevallia that's getting that level of light. That even gets the filtered sunlight through the shade netting directly on it for quite a few hours a day, if we get any sun, which we're not going to get now because the rain started. The next wave of this storm is due after lunch. And that's going to bring the winds back up again to where they were earlier in the day that woke me up. But it's going to have a lot of that as well. Torrential rain to go with it this time. That puts weight onto structures, which makes them heavier. So we might get some damage. Anyway, let's hope the roof stays on here. The house is fine. But this out here is not what you would call a sturdy structure. It's put up with storms before. It'll either put up with it or it won't. If it doesn't, we'll have a disaster on our hands, but I can't see that happening. See you next time. Thanks for dropping by.